Blueprint for defending Caitlin Clark may have been established by Valkyries coach Natalie Nakase. The Indiana Fever, 6-6, get back on the court for a matchup with the Las Vegas Aces on Sunday following an 88-77 loss to the Golden State Valkyries, 6-6 on Thursday in San Francisco. Golden State held Caitlin Clark to 11 points on 3 of 14 shooting, including 0 for 5 on three-pointers, which is only the second time in her early WNBA career that she hasn't a shot from behind the arc. The Fever star had 2 points at halftime, checked tightly by Tiffany Hayes with Kayla Thornton and Veronica Burton also taking turns defending her. Thursday's game matched the lowest point total by Clark this season, which came against the Atlanta Dream on May 22. Perhaps not coincidentally, that was the only other game in which Clark hadn't hit a three-pointer. However, the 11-point effort was not the lowest scoring performance by Clark during her WNBA career. Last season, she scored 3 points in a 104-68 loss to the New York Liberty. But during her rookie campaign, Clark didn't reach double figures in only 5 of her 40 games. Struggling against the eventual WNBA champions perhaps shouldn't be a surprise, but the Valkyries are an expansion team, so holding Clark to 11 points seems notable. Following the game, Hayes and her teammates credited head coach Natalie Nakase for coming up with the effective game plan against Clark. Nakase is in her first year as a head coach after 3 years as an assistant with the Aces and 3 years with the Los Angeles Clippers and their G League affiliate. She explained some of the defensive scheme against Clark before and after the game, saying that defenders had to pick Clark up higher on the court since she can knock down threes from the logo. She shoots from a logo, you can't pick her up at a logo just because. That's a super comfortable shot, Nakase said, via Clutch Point's Kenzo Fukuda. It's almost like a layup to her. Need to get her going to her left. We were being disruptive. We know she doesn't like physicality, Nakase said after the game. And we know she wants to get back to that left step back. I watched her at Iowa. She loves that left step back. So again, she added, just making sure that she wasn't getting into a rhythm and making sure she was seeing multiple bodies. Part of combating multiple defenders is to get the ball to her teammates, and Clark finished Thursday's game with 9 assists. So at least to some extent, she was taking what the Valkyries' defense was giving her. And perhaps the easiest explanation is that the Valkyries have Hayes to defend Clark and other WNBA teams don't. Part of combating multiple defenders is to get the ball to her teammates, and Clark finished Thursday's game with 9 assists. So at least to some extent, she was taking what the Valkyries' defense was giving her. And perhaps the easiest explanation is that the Valkyries have Hayes to defend Clark and other WNBA teams don't. When the buzzer sounded and Caitlin Clark walked off the court after a surprisingly quiet fourth quarter, few could have predicted what had just transpired. It wasn't a blowout or a fluke performance. It was a masterclass in tactical defense, orchestrated by the Valkyries and their head coach, Natalie Nakase. And just like that, the blueprint to slow down one of basketball's most dynamic scorers might finally have been drawn. The clash, art versus architecture. Caitlin Clark doesn't just play basketball, she paints masterpieces in motion. Her deep threes, cross-court passes, and court vision defy logic and gravity alike. Up until now, defenses had tried throwing everything at her. Double teams, box and ones, switching schemes, and full-court pressure. Most of it failed. Clark would adapt, adjust, and annihilate. Enter coach Natalie Nakase, a former professional player and a disciple of both Eastern patience and Western intensity. A coach with an eye for rhythm, geometry, and misdirection. In her Valkyries, a team known more for grit than glamour, Nakase found a unit that believed in her vision. The blueprint begins with belief. Before breaking down the X's and O's, you have to understand the mindset. Nakase didn't just plan to slow down Caitlin Clark. She believed it was possible. That belief translated into every defensive drill the Valkyries practiced the week leading up to their game against Clark's squad. We didn't talk about stopping Caitlin, Nakase said post-game. We talked about disrupting the flow of her story, because she's a storyteller, and every game is a narrative she controls. Our job was to turn the page before she finished the sentence. That psychological approach, seeing Clark's offense as a narrative, not just a set of plays, allowed the Valkyries to shift their defensive strategy from reactive to proactive. They weren't responding to her game, they were rewriting it.